You make this parade a mere charade if you're marching just for fun. Our troops must feel your thanks for real.
Good afternoon. It
stand
is so
to
great to
be
be back.
Program.
Welcome to Wave Your Grades on KUAW.org, the academic patriotism program that is dedicated to veterans and serious secondary scholars. I am your announcer, Decoy Wilson. Now here is our civilian urban educator host, Carl Boyd.
Thank you so very much. This is a very, very special January 14th, 2023. A welcome back or welcome home, getting the band back together to KUAW Wilson, producer, engineer, announcer. This is truly wonderful. And to KUAW Wilson, not only a welcome back and how very, very, very happy we are, but there is a word that we use in education, and Brother Lewis George Walker, let me tell you what that word is. The word is immersion. And it is used when there are young people who are studying a foreign language. And rather than go to the book, rather than start with the ABCs, they are, I don't want to necessarily use the term thrown into, but they are welcome into a class where they simply have to learn by immersion, by being there, by doing what the foreign students do. Today, January 14th, 2023, Lewis George Walker, founder of KUAW.org, subjected KUAW Wilson to immersion. When we understood, DeQuay and I, that you would honor us by coming back on set, I was thinking you would have a day off. And Lewis George Walker immersed you into the set and has allowed for the welcoming of KUAW Wilson right back where the instrumentation takes us, so that we are able to continue wave your grades. So it was such a blessing that KUAW Wilson came so early this afternoon, and that Brother Lewis George Walker is so kind and so instructive to allow us to go ahead with the set. But thank you very much for being here. My name is Carl Boyd, and I am your civilian host of Wave Your Grades. And there are a number of things in 2023 that we'll be doing with Wave Your Grades that we haven't done for the years that we have been on. And it is because we have made a determination that we are in crucial times. We are in a time when not only does the nation need to be unified, and I think that young people coming together planning for the future is a way that we can be unified, but also when we look at the construct, when we look at how schools are manifesting in today's world, there are so many different ways that we want to make sure that we keep up with the young people who are keeping up, so that they will make our veterans proud to be serving, veterans to have served, because they understand that our young people are indeed so attentive not only to the changes that are being made, but the purpose for being excellent. Now, therefore, Wave Your Grades, coming to you every Saturday from 1 until 2 p.m. That is a Central Standard Time, where we are going to announce a few very special things. Now, one of those things has to do with something akin to an essay contest. I don't necessarily want to call it that exactly. But you had the opportunity last week to meet Syria Shields, who was with attorney Valencia Broaddus, Jeffrey Murphy, and I mentioned that she was the one student who had for us last year an essay. And we referred to the essay as Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Heroes. And we will be asking at a particular point on the program our producer, engineer, and announcer, DeQuay Wilson, to make the announcement, and we will elaborate on the announcement. And Sister DeQuay Wilson, if you would just let those who know what the announcement says, we can elaborate on what it is about. But that announcement about heroes you know you didn't know were heroes goes like this.
At first, I have to say it is truly, truly, truly an honor to be back. Um, Here's our announcement. Students, you can win a monetary award from our sponsoring organization. Yes, you heard that correctly. Organization. We say it that way on purpose, with purpose. Stutes for Boots. Your essay will be Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Heroes. Your content will identify a veteran at your school. It could be a teacher, a custodian, a coach, cafeteria worker, bus driver, administrator, or any other adult military veteran at your school. If your essay is chosen and submitted by an adult who gives you permission to read it on this Waive Your Grades program, you will be awarded a monetary prize. Now, to enter or just to get more information, send your inquiry or entry to stootsforboots@gmail.com. That is STOOTSFORBOOTS@gmail.com. Again, stootsforboots@gmail.com.
Thank you so very, very much. And I am really looking forward to those who will participate in Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Heroes from the standpoint of honoring those who have served. And so often we find people whom we know who have not just served, but served meritoriously and never mentioned it. I don't know how many outlets, Sister DeQuay, there are right now focusing on those who have served and the kind of lives they have led before the life that they are living now. But at least one program, at least Waive Your Grades, can point to those who have served and help the United States of America to understand that hero, HERO, does not pertain to any one particular stereotype. But there are those who have been a part of our military who have come home, in some cases, to chaos. They have come home to violence. They have come home to medical conditions that are not being attended to in the way that they ought to be attended to. And not only have come home to that, but we are blessed, and DeQuay Wilson knows the person I am going to mention. We are blessed to know Rebecca Bradley. And Rebecca Bradley has dedicated her career of different positions to helping those who have served to understand how they can be attended to if necessary. They can get an education if they desire. They can apply for work in various areas. I'm saying this to say that we really need to take stock of what this country is doing and how we are acting, and the divisiveness that we see on an ongoing basis when we have people we run into every day who have sacrificed in places that we suggest are somehow less than we. And I am wont to say, and you've heard me say it before, that it is a travesty when somebody has served their country and come back to live in a neighborhood that is more dangerous than where they have served, even fought overseas. So, young people, we are asking you to participate in the essay contest, not only to get a monetary award, which is great, but we really would like our young people to get to know some of those who work at their schools, maybe in the cafeteria, maybe the custodian, maybe the coach, the counselor, those C's, but also administrators, perhaps, the teachers, whomever they are. Now, Sister DeQuay, what I'm asking of them is when they contact studentsforboots@gmail.com, is that an adult sponsor submit the student's essay so that by the time it is approved. As a matter of fact, when I was writing this up, at first I had, please send your entry or inquiry to DeQuay Wilson at so that you might be on the receiving end of it, but I will be certainly sharing it with you. But not only to participate in something that might be referred to as an essay contest, but really to get to know some of the adults you see on an ongoing basis. This is a program that might be expanded to include someone in your community, someone in a community organization, the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, wherever it is that the young people might spend time. But there are adults who really are too humble, and it's not false humility, but never talk about it. And in the course of just a casual conversation, they will say, oh, yes, I was a Marine. That reminds me, by the way, when we do this and when I make my remarks, I need to make the disclosure each Saturday that I am a civilian. I am blessed to be a part of a family where my oldest brother was a Marine, next to him was an airman, and the one closest to me was a soldier. And they saw to it that I was the first in my family to graduate from college. So I owe them. Now, when I think about the sacrifices that are being made even on a daily basis right now, I think American students owe those who serve because they are protecting your right to go to school. They are protecting your opportunity to address all of the different ways that we're doing something called school. So we will be asking, heroes you know you didn't know were heroes. And by the way, please, DeQuay Wilson, if there's something that you want to say and or ask, please come right on in, because I am elated that you are in that seat once again.
I'm definitely happy to be here. I can't express that enough. I don't have any questions or comments at this time. You know from your experience with me that I really enjoy listening to you. I think you have so much knowledge, so much to give that I want to be on the receiving end as often as possible. So I take joy in that.
Well, I will tell you this, and I think that it is not premature to say it because I am privileged to observe it close up. But beginning in the month of February 2023, I am looking forward to seeing your likeness on Channel 19. And there is a gentleman whose name is Elvis Sonny Gibson. And he is an historian unlike many I have met because he has lived it. And that was the person with whom you shared an interview. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I'm wondering whether or not you have any reflections or insights or observations as it relates to what Channel 19 is doing with that.
Trying to get, I guess, to say in my own words, Kansas Cityans more familiar with, I guess, trailblazers or pioneers that we still have here in the community that are have wealths of knowledge, who not only possess the knowledge but are willing to share that knowledge with others in an attempt to pass the baton.
Yes.
Which is what the basic premise is. But an opportunity to share some of the information with the community before we don't have access to it
Isn't
anymore.
that the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like being able to hear them while they are here. And that is truly a blessing. And it will be brought out, by the way, in the introduction to those brief interviews, way too brief, believe me, excerpts from the interview, that in the 1960s, Leon Dixon attended TSU, Texas Southern University, I think. I was calling it Texas Christian University. I'll make sure before I make an announcement which it was. But he had a coach, Stan Wright, of the track team. And the way Leon explained it was that he had a world-class 4x100 relay team. And they were just killing everybody as it relates to how fast they were. First African-American U.S. national track team coach to go to the Olympics. And someone inquired of him how he did it. How did you get such fast athletes? And his response, Leon said, was, it's not how fast they run, it's how they pass the baton. And on Channel 19, there will be just this February 5 representatives of passing that baton. And I am privileged, I am honored to be in the presence of a baton taker. So we have history makers and baton takers. So, DeQuay Wilson, I am so looking forward to those spots during the month of February, maybe beyond. I don't know.
You never know.
So please keep us abreast of your goings on, because you are certainly very important to this community. For 2023, this is the month of January. Let our listeners and viewers know some of what Stoots for Boots will be doing in the year 2023. I wonder if you can see this. If I do this, I don't want to do this wrong because I'm not sure how that is supposed to go. Okay. This is a book called Academic Patriotism. Academic Patriotism. And I will be talking this year about academic patriotism in action. And, of course, I have been speaking from the book Morning Messages each Saturday, but each day, as a matter of fact, on my website, I put in the message for that particular morning. Now, here is something that some people do not know. I indicated that I am a civilian, and yet I chair the youth committee for the BFW Auxiliary Post 8100 in Grandview. So someone might ask, in as much as BFW stands for Veteran of Foreign Wars, my being a civilian means obviously I did not participate in a foreign war. And I found out, I guess it was last year, maybe year before last, that if you are the relative of someone who was in a foreign war, you can join the auxiliary. So I cannot join BFW, but the BFW Auxiliary is a supporting organization for the different posts, and it turns out that Post 8100 is in Grandview, Missouri. So I get that opportunity to participate on the youth committee. So they also conduct essay contests and tours and different kinds of programs where the young people team together. You know what? And by the way, in as much as you were welcomed and put to work by Louis George Walker today. Louis George Walker is president of the Black Family Technology Awareness Association. So you will hear at the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center about robotics contests and Lego contests and all of these different kinds of things. So the VFW Auxiliary partners with such organizations to have young people participate in those kinds of things. The other thing is we mentioned Rebecca Bradley, and she is the president of the National Association of Black Veterans. And my goodness, you talk about a store of information. Rebecca Bradley is absolutely amazing. And the reason I mentioned that, and we shall be repeating that in this year, is because casually there are people who ask me if I know how they can get in touch with the Veterans Administration or something like that is going on. And while they are saying it casually, sometimes they have some very serious situations they are attempting to address. 100% of the time, 100% of the time, sounds like all the time to me. When I have referred someone to Rebecca Bradley, she either has the resources immediately available to her, or she can give you the information as to where to get what you need. Another thing that I found out, here again, I'm not a veteran. I did not serve. So I was pleased to find out that in most cases, there is no statute of limitations as it relates to needs that you might have as a veteran. So here is someone who has been impacted by the Vietnam War. Oh, as a matter of fact, when I said that I could become a part of the VFW Auxiliary because I had a brother in a foreign war, that goes all the way back to the Korean War. So there might be someone who was impacted, who was wounded, someone who was affected in some way that long ago. If I say to Rebecca Bradley, so is it too late for them to contact you? Her response, again, 100% of the time is, tell them to call me. So there's not a statute of limitations as it relates. And by the way, there's also no limitation on severity. So it might be a very, very serious situation, or it might be something that they consider to be very simple. We have had the opportunity on Wave Your Grades to interview Debbie Austin, for instance, Gold Star Moms. We have had the opportunity to interview members of the Buffalo Soldiers and the Buffalo Soldiers Cycle Club. And we have had the opportunity to meet Brother Malone with the American Legion Post 149 and his successor, Reverend Thomas Linden Jr. When I think about the privilege that we have on the program called Wave Your Grades, I honestly feel that we have not done justice to promoting the caliber of guests we have. So one of the things that we will promise those who are with us in 2023 is that we're going to be a lot more aggressive, a lot more assertive as it relates to introducing our community to those who have served and young people today who are absolutely excellent at school. DeQuay Wilson, March 3rd will be my 81st birthday. I was in high school in the 50s. At age 13 through 17, in 2023, I don't know if I'd be able to figure out what schools are doing, not just across the state, but across the nation. We are asking American students to compete with students from around the world. and trying to figure out if we are hybrid, if we are in person, if we are virtual, if we are 5 days or if we are 4 days, if we are paying tuition or if we're going free. It is absolutely amazing the number of things that students and students' parents have to deal with just being students in today's world. Now, one of the reasons I pray that we have an opportunity to put in the proper perspective what Wave Your Grades is all about is because as social media have grown, as we are in touch with each other, not only across the world, but also in an instant, our young people are exposed to so much mess that I don't know how they have time to concentrate on being a young person. It is absolutely unfair, and I have said more than once, our generation should apologize to young people for the mess that we have put them in. But one of the reasons that we are doing Stutes for Boots, which is Students for Troops, one of the reasons that we are doing what we are doing in this context is because we honestly believe that America has a number of categories where we need to fix it. And I promise you, it's not going to be fixed next weekend. It's not going to be fixed next year. So that what needs to happen to improve our society is going to be improved by young people who are in school today. How can we help them matriculate in a comfortable environment? Can you imagine active shooter drills?
I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine having the stresses. And when I grew up, I thought life was hard, and I'm not sure I could navigate. Well, I'm sure I'd figure it out, but you just have to question how kids are expected to navigate in this world. And they have so much more responsibility. When I was a kid, all you had to do was be a kid and go to school. Our kids have so many more worries, so many more concerns than what we had. And I couldn't imagine.
It is absolutely you're so right, and I would think my generation even more so than yours in terms of just be a kid. So I'm in school, and I look across the class at Sherman Smith or at Ellie Walker, and I put a hand up, and I am saying to them after school, I got first choice for the football team. We're going to play football later. Or concerned about what kind of dessert we might have and the children's games that we had to play. DeQuay Wilson, I started high school in 1955. Graduated from high school in 1959. 4 years. In 4 years, we heard a rumor that somebody was contemplating suicide. In 4 years, we heard one rumor about one person and never heard any more about it, so we don't even know if it was done. I don't know that I would have been strong enough in those times to confront young people losing friends and those kinds of things that they're doing now. Okay.
It's one thing to lose them in instances in daily life, where we have a lot more murders that are taking place now throughout our cities, states, and throughout our country and as a whole than there were. I think when I was in high school, I think maybe one person
Yes.
had been killed, but now our kids are losing their friends outside of school, but there are some instances where they are losing their friends right in front of them. And I couldn't imagine having to live with that and still maintain the responsibilities that I have
Yes.
as a youth today.
Yes.
That's a lot of pressure on our kids.
Well, I will tell you that I marvel at your ability to stay committed to issues that confront us on an ongoing basis. I was blessed that I met you during an interview because you were at the forefront of confronting issues.
The only piece of that I can disagree with is I think that I am the one that has been blessed.
Oh no, no, I'm very serious when I say it, and thank you. But considering, what is your position at on the board of KCPT?
I don't have an official position.
Yeah.
I am just a sitting member on the Community Advisory Board, and now it is actually Kansas City PBS.
That's
So
it,
the name has changed.
KCPBS. Yes, absolutely. It is very interesting the number of things that are confronting our young people on a daily basis in, I guess 2019 to 2022, the pandemic came about, so that was something else that had to be seriously regarded. But just thinking about what parents have to do to help their children matriculate. Because now, and I heard a report yesterday, and you probably heard the same thing that I heard in the independent school district when they went 4 days instead of 5 last year, when they asked for candidates, 91 applicants in 2021, 2022. 2022, 2023, they had 490 applicants to teach in the independent school district, obviously because they decided to go to a 4-day week. Now, my simplicity, when we were talking about when we were young and how simple things were, the way we thought it went was you worked a 5-day week, your parents worked or adults worked, grown folks worked Monday through Friday, and we used the term 9 to 5. It is amazing to me that there are people who have the flexibility for the school district to say, well, your child is going to be going to school a little longer, 4 days a week, but they're not going on Monday. That our parents today are able to say, oh, that's great. I don't know how they're able to make those adjustments, but here again.
It's not so easy for all of the parents.
Thank you. So that when you look at those, and here's the thing that it's about time for my announcement, or will be pretty soon. But the other thing that concerns me, and one of the reasons that we want to work with young people here again in 2023, is that unfortunately, in a very divisive political world, we are allowing children to become pawns in the divisiveness, so that when they talk about, and of course, having begun to teach in 1964 and being an African American, if one were to confront me as it relates to critical race theory, and that being somehow controversial, there are those who want to take certain terms out of curricula and all of these kinds of things that are going on. Is America so bright? Is America so smart that we've got time to put our children to this?
I think we're putting our children at a disadvantage by not giving them all of the information of the history of this country. How can you make good decisions when you don't have all of the information?
Thank you. Plain and simple. That needs to be inscribed somewhere. As a matter of fact, every school should have that as you walk in. How can you make good decisions if you don't have the right information?
That's true.
I mean, that just makes all the sense in the world. It might be information I don't like, but if it is the truth,
Which sometimes can be painful, but when we face those truths, we can then make better choices, better decisions, and
Yes.
have better outcomes.
without a doubt. So, how do we make sure, or at least attempt to make sure, that our children do? Let me tell you one way. And this is another thing that we will be emphasizing with Wave Your Grades in 2023. Speaking of blessings, you and I are sitting in the studio at the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. And one of the things that we intend to do with Stutes for Boots this year is support organizations that support students. So here you have, I think since 1973, the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. And because it is a helping organization, a tutorial organization, a mentoring organization, we intend to have programs that help fund, that help recruit, that help participate, so that where you have a W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center and young people can find out in the evening and on weekends that information you're talking about. We want to make sure that they matriculate in such a way that they don't have to worry about being able to do for the young people what needs to be done. It is so important. And I have boasted about the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center for many years. I didn't get to Kansas City until 1980. I have been blessed to travel working with schools in all but 3 of the United States. And I've only seen one program similar to the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center that rivals the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. But I'm telling you, in all of those states, all of the places that I have traveled, especially when this was started with volunteers, they're not getting paid to do this. And we need to support the parents who bring their children, and we need to support the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. One of the things that I will be adding to the format I wanted so much to have you sitting right here next to me and casually holding this conversation. And Brother Walker trusted you and trust well placed to be behind the controls. So, as producer, engineer, and announcer, I was asking that you announce my academic patriotism commentary, and I want to give an example today, and then every Saturday I will have a commentary and I shall read. So I will ask that you introduce it, and I'll prayerfully say it as it needs to be said. I'm going to do it by example to let our participants know how it's going to be done, how it's going to close the show, and then discuss it a little bit and why I think that it is important to Stutes for Boots 2023.
Absolutely. Well, we are nearing the end of the show, so I would like to thank you so much for joining us. I am so glad to be back. You guys just really don't know.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
This is your Stutes for Boots Wave Your Grades program. We come to you live every Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here in Kansas City's very own, the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. I am your announcer, Decoy Wilson. Now, our host will close with Carl's commentary on academic patriotism and something that I have missed, his daily messages for students in honor of our veterans from his book, Morning Messages.
To Wave Your Grades listeners and viewers, please hear Carl's commentary on academic patriotism, January 14th, 2023. As we ask American students to strive for excellence in honor of our troops, we want you to know why it is important. On Monday, January 16th, 2023, your schools will be closed as we celebrate the January 15th birthday of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Reverend King was not a veteran, nor am I, but he was most certainly an academician and a patriot. In fact, as students study his August 28, 1963, I Have a Dream speech, you will read its most important passage when Dr. King said, quote, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." Now, as we fast forward, but not yet fast enough, and call out such names as Vice President Kamala Harris and Supreme Court Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Elana Kagan, Amy Coney Barrett, and Ketanji Brown Jackson. Yes, all men and women are created equal. Therefore, we celebrate the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in the spirit of academic patriotism. Please allow me to say to you, American students, the future of our nation is all about education, and we must become unified for all before us who died. And so it is that I will offer Carl's commentary on academic patriotism, and then I will close with this morning's daily message. To students across the USA, your Stoots for Boots message for this day, January 14th. They know why they serve. Do you know why you study? Your country needs your excellence. January 14th, they know why they serve. Do you know why you study? Your country needs your excellence. Now, Sister DeQuay Wilson, what I will do in the future is time it out close as I can to match the end of the program and then do the Wave Your Grades theme song as we go off. But the reason I wanted to do it early was to explain that the Carl's commentary on academic patriotism is also consistent with, I hope within the next couple of weeks, maybe even as soon as next week, the announcement of the sequel to Academic Patriotism. And the new edition of the book is Academic Patriotism in Action. And what I will be asking is those in our schools who are exposed to the book, let us know what part of the book they are activating. And for every week, whether it is because they have told me that or because of what I think is important in what has been written, I will do Carl's commentary on academic patriotism. The other thing is, being a black American, born in 1942, I actually grew up in a climate where it was hard to associate the word patriotism to black folks. And I think that it is very important that this country, this world understand taking the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., as a matter of fact, as an example. What he did, what he said, even the reason he died, was one of the greatest examples of patriotism this country has seen. Why do I say that? When he said in that same I Have a Dream speech, something that had to do with our nation writing a check, and that check bounced on us, and however he put it far more eloquently than I, in all that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did and said, yet he put it in the hands of the country to correct. He did not call for our leaving America. He called for our improving America. If indeed it is true that we suffered atrocities from slavery and on, and we still have the audacity to say to America, we think that you were wrong in this, and yet trust America to correct it, that's patriotism. When you think about John Lewis at the Edmund Pettus Bridge being attacked, and all of those brothers and sisters kneeling and praying rather than fighting back, that to me is an extreme example of patriotism. And if you look at the history of black people in particular, because we are black, but I am looking forward to the history of Hispanic, Latino Americans who have participated in the service, the military service of the United States of America. When you look at the history of Native Americans, when you look at the history of so many who have been a part of, quote, the American dream, unquote, we must not dare reconcile the word patriotism to one stereotypic movie star. But indeed, academic patriotism is, we want to improve America through academics. We haven't done it the way that we should do it, but we need to help the children learn the way it should be done and trust them to do it right, and not play them, as I said, for political pawns, learning how to take one side or another, because so far neither side is perfect. Therefore, you have a purpose for going to school. You have a reason for studying. And think about the number of things, DeQuay Wilson, that we might concentrate on that would be helpful. It is absolutely amazing what 49, I don't know what the number is, but all of the tornadoes that we just saw. And we have lost people in those extreme weather conditions. Now, would I rather, if I were a teacher in a 7th grade class, would I rather confront students on whose situation was worse with documents, Joe Biden or Donald Trump? Or would I rather say, what are ways that we could build defenses against extreme weather conditions? What are ways that we could build so that things that are well constructed will not succumb to the weather conditions that actually take people out? I think I would rather study ways that we could create a better existence than to have our young people choosing sides over some arguments that really are not that important, as it were.
Well, first we have to get them to believe that climate change is real.
And there you go. So here we were talking about critical race theory and whether or not some of those things are accurate. You have climate change, and we have to debate whether or not this is real. And there are some other things. Now, the way I look at it, in as much as I became an urban educator in 1964, rather than my saying to the young people, this is right, or this is wrong, let's study this. Let's take a look at this, so that they get the opportunity to concentrate on making a better future rather than having to choose between political opponents. There are a number of ways that we can unite this nation, because one thing that we can agree upon is veterans deserve our respect. Not only veterans, but active duty troops. One thing we can agree upon is we need to protect our children. Our children need to be able to go to school and study, and if it is something that we suspect that is somehow inaccurate, let's look it up. Let's go to it. Let's find it. Let's take the field trip. Let's go wherever we need to go to do that, rather than have young people wondering at what age they can purchase automatic weapons. My goodness. So at least Stoots for Boots, at least Wave Your Grades, is going to be talking about that. So what I would do now, can you pot up the Wave Your Grades theme song? Because then what I would do is say to students across the USA, your Stoots for Boots message for this day, January 14th, they know why they serve. Do you know why you study? Your country needs your excellence. Then I say to the KUAW, thank you for being here, being back, and looking forward to the weeks to come.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to the entire year.
Now you're talking. And then I say, before the theme song comes up, gracious God and wonderful Wanda, I'm on my way home.
Have a good day, Kansas City.